Hello, this is Chef John from foodwishes.com with Broken Spaghetti Risotto. We know you're tired of all your pasta side dishes. You need something new and exciting. So ironically, we're going to fix that problem with something broken. But before we get to the pasta, we got to talk about stock. So ideally, you're going to use a really nice homemade chicken broth, which is what I have simmering here. All this was some leftover garlic and herb chicken. And by the way, if you remember our broth lesson, I told you to not let it boil because it'll get cloudy. I let mine boil. For this dish, it's not really going to matter, but I did want to illustrate that because that's what'll happen if your heat's too high when you're cooking a stock. And of course, if you don't have homemade, no worries. Just get a nice all-natural chicken broth and you'll be fine. All right, so our broth is ready. We're also going to need some of this, cut spaghetti, which is more commonly referred to as broken spaghetti because most people don't buy it like this. They break their own up. But we need 1 cup of broken spaghetti. We're going to head over to the stove where I have a pan on medium heat. I'm going to put 1 glug of olive oil in. I'm going to dump in about a cup of broken spaghetti. And what we're going to do is slowly, well, not that slowly, but kind of slowly toast that over medium heat until it turns a beautiful golden nutty brown. Now, this is one of those recipes that's super easy and relatively fast. This is probably going to be like 15 minutes start to finish, but you can't walk away. If you walk away from that pasta, you're going to cook it too dark and it'll kind of wreck the recipe. So under toasting it is fine, but if you get it too dark brown, it's going to have kind of an off taste. So be very careful. You want to stir it continually until you have something that's pretty much exactly that color. All right, so that's looking perfect. At that point, I'm going to toss in some minced garlic and just give that a very quick 30-second sizzle in that broken spaghetti. And then we're going to immediately dump in the first edition of hot broth. So my stock pot's right next to this pan. I dumped in about a half a cup. We're going to raise the heat up to medium high. So I'm going to put the first edition in. I'm going to stir. That's going to absorb and soak in relatively quick, maybe 2-3 minutes. At which point I'm going to add another splash of stock. And we're going to do the same thing until all the stock's added. And I'm going to give you all the measurements, of course. So the reason this technique is referred to as a risotto, quote unquote, is because we're using that same technique of dumping some stock in, cooking it until it's absorbed, dumping more in, cooking it, etc. Okay, so same drill here. You're just going to cook stirring over medium-high heat, and when it looks like most of the liquid's absorbed, you add a little more if it needs it. Of course, you're going to stop when the pasta has the texture you're looking for. So I believe my cooking time when I started adding the liquid was about 10 minutes. I know the package says like 6, but it is going to take longer to cook than if you were just to boil it in water. But don't worry about time. Again, you're going until the stock's absorbed and the pasta's tender. And of course, depending on the size of your pan and how high your heat is, you may need a little more or a little less broth. But that's okay. That's cooking. We're always adjusting as we go. And when it just almost looked like it was starting to dry out, that's the perfect time to give it a little taste, a little test. At this point, I usually turn my heat down to medium-low so things don't go so quick. So I'm going to give this a little taste for salt. I'm also going to check how close the pasta is. So mine was just to that al dente point I enjoy. So I'm going to add some salt here. I'm also going to add some red pepper flakes. You could, of course, use cayenne or, of course, like a million other things. And once you've adjusted your seasoning, you're pretty much done. Again, my heat is on medium-low here, and I'm just giving it a stir, and I'm just waiting for that perfect point where the broth is absorbed, the pasta is cooked, and it looks like that. Now to finish, we're going to turn the heat off. We're going to add some fresh Italian parsley and some cheese. I'm using Pecorino Romano. You could use Reggiano Parmesan, of course. And once that's stirred in, you're done. And by the way, don't think that shine is just from the olive oil. There's really not that much olive oil in this. That's actually the rich, reduced chicken broth kind of coating those noodles with that beautiful, sticky goodness. So awesome. What an interesting, fun to make, and delicious to eat pasta dish. Maybe a little more cheese over the top. Up to you. You're the boss of your broken spaghetti. All right, let me take a taste of this. Just so good. Very flavorful. All those noodles are separated. They're not stuck together. It has a nice toothsomeness to it. And toasting it before we add the liquid gives it this great little subtle, toasty flavor that's really, really beautiful. So I just did a small portion as a quick side dish. You could also make a larger portion, throw in some veggies and some shredded chicken, and you would have a fantastic full meal. So anyway, I hope you give that a try. Head over to foodwishes.com for all the ingredient amounts and more info as usual. And as always, enjoy.